Good morning, everybody. Hello, boys and girls. Today is an exciting day because we are baking together. And I want to show you a clue of what we're going to make. Has anybody seen this book before? The title is If You Give a Moose a Muffin. The author by Laura Numeroff, and the illustrator, the person who drew the pictures, is Felicia Bond. Now, I chose this book because this book is about muffins. So, before I read the story, I'm going to prepare muffins and how to bake muffins with all of you. So, the first thing I want to tell you is that I put the oven on. It's called preheating the oven, and I put the oven on 400 degrees, and then I washed my hands. So remember, before you cook or bake, always remember to wash your hands. So we're going to start. So I'm following muffin directions and ingredients. So the first thing the muffins direction says is to measure out, this is a measuring cup, measure out 2 cups of flour. So I have my flour, I poured it in, and it's measured 2 cups. And I dump that in the bowl. Then I have to take baking powder. And I take measuring spoons. These are spoons with special numbers on them for measuring. And I take 1 tablespoon. So I look on my measuring spoons. It says 1 tablespoon. Can you say that? Good. And I take that and I put it in here. And I gently measure 1 tablespoon. Then the muffin directions calls for, that's what people say when you're baking, calls for salt. And it's a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. So I look at my measuring spoons and I try and find 1/2 teaspoon. And I found it. So I gently pour 1/2 teaspoon into this. And then it says to mix. So I gently take my mixing spoon and I mix it all up, holding on to the bowl. Now, it says to take a separate bowl. So I have another bowl, and in that bowl, I have to put 2 eggs. 1 egg. Crack it open. Crack it open. And it says to beat. So I use a fork and I mix quickly. That means to beat. Can you hear the eggs beating? This is really fun. Once my eggs are beaten, it says beat the eggs in a separate bowl and add sugar. So I put in 1/2 cup. So I take my measuring cup and I put in 1/2 cup. I put in a little extra. Okay. Then it says to add milk. So I take my milk and it calls for a whole cup. I have my measuring cup again and 1 whole cup of milk. So I gently pour looking at the numbers on the measuring cup as I pour to equal to 1 cup. And then I pour that in here. And then I'm going to mix this with my measuring spoon. And I hold on to that bowl. And I gently mix this all up. And now I add another ingredient. It's called vanilla extract. So I take my vanilla extract, I get my measuring spoons, and it calls for 1 teaspoon. So I find 1 teaspoon, and I pour that in gently, and then I start stirring that. Give it a gentle mix. Now, that's mixing up, and I added my eggs, sugar, milk, and vanilla. And now, I'm reading about the butter. Boys and girls, in this cup, I have butter. And the recipe and directions say to melt the butter. And it's a half a stick of butter. So I took the stick of butter and I cut it in half and I put it in here. I put it in the microwave for 10 seconds and melted it. And I want to gently pour it in. And as I'm pouring it, I'm mixing it so that it all mixes together. And I gently stir that up. And I'm carefully mixing all the ingredients. And now it says to add the liquid. Everybody say liquid. Good. Add the liquid ingredients to the dry ingredients. So I'm going to show you how we do that. You gently pour, because remember, liquid is a pouring ingredient. Gently pour, and you can have your brother or sister or mom or dad or anyone that's home with you. You can gently pour it. One person can pour and one person can stir. And you slowly, carefully add all the liquid to the dry ingredients. And keep stirring, holding that bowl, and stir gently so that the ingredients don't fall out of the bowl. And keep stirring all around. Mixing is fun when you bake. And if you've noticed, the ingredients are what we call lumpy. And that's okay. The directions say to keep the muffin mix lumpy and bumpy. So the texture looks like that. Now, once you have put your liquid ingredients with the dry ingredients, the directions say to butter the muffin pan. So the way I do that is I peel down a butter stick and I hold the muffin tin and I give it a whirl inside it. This is fun. And this is so that the muffins don't stick while they're cooking. So I already did all this. And now I get to put the ingredients into the muffin pan. And the way that I do that is I like to use what's called a ladle. You can use a big spoon or a ladle. And you don't want to fill the muffin all the way because magically when the muffins are cooking, they rise. That means that the muffins grow inside the oven. And I want to gently just fill each muffin, the muffin tin, just about halfway full, so that every muffin tin gets some ingredients in it. And if you notice, it's a little lumpy still, and that's okay. So I'm gently placing all the mix inside the muffin tin. And it takes time to do this, but that's okay. So I'm making sure that everyone is about halfway full. And you can always bake at home with your families. While I'm doing this, I want you to think about what you could add to the muffins to make them tasty. So for example, some people like bananas. So if you want, you could add bananas into the bowl. You would just mash them up and add them. If you wanted to add some strawberries, you could chop up strawberries and put strawberries in this bowl. Or you could put chocolate chips and you could add chocolate chips to this bowl and make it yummy and sweet. So today, I'm just making what I call plain muffins. Okay, now boys and girls, I'm going to put this in the oven to bake for 15 minutes. I'm going to set a timer. I'll be right back. I'm opening the oven and putting them in. Okay, now I'm setting the timer. Okay, the timer is set. Now, boys and girls, I get to read you a story. If you give a moose a muffin, and I will be listening for the timer. So if you hear the timer, let me know. If you give a moose a muffin, by Laura Joffe-Numeroff and illustrated by Felicia Bond. If you give a moose a muffin, look, throwing the muffin to the moose. Oh my goodness. He'll want some jam to go with it. So you'll bring out some of your mother's homemade blackberry jam, getting it from the refrigerator to give it to the moose. When he's finished eating the muffin, he'll want another, and another, and another. When they're all gone, he'll ask you to make more. Oh, that moose seems to love muffins. You'll have to go to the store to get some muffin mix. He'll want to go with you. When he opens the door and feels how chilly it is, he'll ask to borrow a sweater. Oh my goodness. When he puts the sweater on, he'll notice one of the buttons is loose. He'll ask for a needle and thread. He'll start sewing. The button will remind him of the puppets his grandmother used to make. So he'll ask for some old socks. Boys and girls, what do you think he's going to do with those socks? He'll make some sock puppets. When they're done, he'll want to put on a puppet show. He'll need some cardboard and paints. Oh, look how silly that moose looks. Then he'll ask you to help make the scenery. When the scenery is finished, he'll get behind the couch, but his antlers will stick out. So he'll ask for something to cover them up. You'll bring him a sheet from your bed. When he sees the sheet, he'll remember he wants to be a ghost for Halloween. He'll try it on and shout, "Boo!" I'll scare him so much he'll knock over the paints. So he'll use the sheet to clean up the mess. Then he'll ask for some soap to wash it out. He'll probably want to hang the sheet up to dry. Oh my goodness, is he hanging it on his antler? He'll go outside to put it on the clothesline. When he's out in the yard, he'll see your mother's blackberry bushes. Seeing the blackberries will remind him of her jam. He'll probably ask you for some. And chances are, if you give him the jam, he'll want a muffin to go with it. So, boys and girls, here's the story of If You Give a Moose a Muffin. And guess what I have to go with our muffins? I have strawberry jam, just like in the story. And if you've never tasted jam, it is so sweet and delicious. I can smell those muffins cooking right now. Oh my. Raise your hand if you've ever cooked at home. Cooking is so much fun. Let me see how many more minutes we have. They're almost ready. So while we're waiting for the muffins, I need to show you. We have been following our caterpillars, and I wanted to show you today because they are growing, and they're growing quickly. Have you noticed they've gotten bigger and fatter and longer? They're eating so much. I hear the timer. I'll be right back. I turned the timer off. I'm getting my oven mitts. I turned the oven off. Oh my goodness. Ooh, look at these muffins. Wow. I have oven mitts because it's hot. Now, boys and girls, some of you may heard of taking a toothpick and putting it in a muffin. And I'm going to show you why. When you take a toothpick and you gently put it inside and you gently pull it out, if it comes out clean, that means with nothing on the toothpick, the batter, if there's no batter on it, they're done. Sometimes if you put a toothpick inside a muffin or a cake, it comes out with some of the wet ingredients still. That's what we call batter. And you have to just put it back in the oven for maybe 5 minutes. But these are finished. So, if you want it with a little jam, Take a little of the jam and my spoon. I have a spoon, and you can scoop up some jam, just like in the story. Put it on a plate, and I'm going to use a mitt and pull out a muffin. Wow! And I put in enough butter in there so it doesn't stick. And boys and girls, there you have muffin and jam, and you can enjoy this. And again, if you want to add some fruit or chocolate chips, you can put it right in the batter before you put it in the muffin tin. I hope you enjoyed baking with me today. Baking is so much fun with your family at home. Have a wonderful day, boys and girls. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.